In Germany, critics of Chancellor Angela Merkel's asylum policies and crowds of refugee supporters come head-to-head in the capital, Berlin, with the police arresting a handful of protesters from the pro-refugee camp. The far-right demonstrators called for the resignation of Angela Merkel. They also chanted Islamophobic slogans and held nationalistic banners. On their route, the anti-refugee protesters came across a much bigger counter-rally. Police had a heavy presence along the protest route and finally arrested a number of counter-protesters that sparked scuffles between police and demonstrators. Germany received around 1 million asylum seekers last year alone. The open-door policy prompted nationalists and far-right groups to speak out. Anti-refugee sentiment are on the rise across Europe that faces an unprecedented flow of refugees. To talk about this subject, we're joined by Wahid Azal, who's an independent scholar and political commentator. Wahid, it's good to have you here with us on the program.
Thank you.
Essentially, since last November or October it was, that the country, that is Germany, became ever more exceedingly polarized because of this, let's say, claim of Islamization of Europe and the flow of refugees. Now, to what extent, in your opinion, the media and political opportunism has to be blamed here?
Well, don't believe everything that you hear from the corporate press in the West. It is not as polarized as the Western corporate press is making out to be. And evidence of this is particularly that today, just outside the Berlin Hauptbahnhof train station, the fascists or the far right has only managed to muster about 1,800 to 2,000 demonstrators, whereas Antifa, the anti-racism groups, and pro-refugee activists, according to some estimates, brought out nearly 8,000 people on the streets of Berlin. So as you can see, the polarization is being carefully, I would say, managed in perception by certain actors from behind the scenes, mainly corporate ones.
Now, I think it was in 2010 that Angela Merkel, who is now being accused of her, let's say, lenient policies towards the excessive influx of refugees, she was heard saying that the multiculti culture, being the multiculturalism phenomenon in Europe as a whole and in Germany in particular, has essentially failed. Now, is this a sign of that, or is there more to it than meets the eye?
Oh, there's a lot more to it than meets the eye. I mean, this is a very long discussion, but the far rightists and these reactionaries, neo-Nazis, have a very myopic sense of history, especially where Germany is concerned. Germany has had almost 1,200 years relations with the Islamic world. The Holy Roman Emperor Charlamagne established an embassy with the Abbasids in the 8th century. Some of the eminent figures of German literature, such as Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, who is acclaimed by some sources as being a Muslim convert. He converted to Islam. And another one, Maria-Rilke, whose love of Islam is all over his poetry, and also Nietzsche. So these people have no sense of history. And also, there were mosques being built here in Germany in the 18th and 19th century. So this is not an invasion by another. The Germans have a long experience of cooperation, mutual existence with the Muslims. It's just that it just happens that in the first part of the 21st century, there are certain forces that are determined to destroy this peaceful coexistence and claim that multiculturalism doesn't work, whereas every society, every empire in history has, in one form or another, been multicultural. There is no such thing as monoculturalism.
Okay, I want to thank you there for your thoughts. Wahid Azal, independent scholar and political commentator, speaking to us from Berlin.